Hey folks, welcome back to Discerning Spirits, the show where we talk Enneagram types over classic cocktails. I'm your bartender, Dan Prevette.
And I'm your bar patron, Colton Simmons. And today we are talking about Type 9, the Peacemaker. Dan, what'd you choose for our drink today?
Colton, Type 9 was an interesting one, and I decided to have a little bit of fun with it. Nines have a bit of a reputation, and incidentally, so does this drink. We're gonna do a Mai Tai, probably the most popular tiki cocktail out there, or at least the most famous. Tiki cocktails, everybody thinks super relaxing, super chill, and super drinkable, but they are way stronger than most people think. Today we're gonna do white rum, dark rum, orgeat, orange liqueur, fresh squeezed lime juice, and a little bit of sugar. It's delicious, but it's gonna be serious. All right, C-Money, I'm excited about this one. This is the Mai Tai for our Type 9s, the Peacemaker.
I love that we're ending on a tiki drink.
It's a fun twist.
Is this a functional straw?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's do it. Really? Mine's not functioning. I gave it a shot though.
Well, it is a paper straw because I'm trying to take care of our environment.
Good for the environment, not good for the beverage.
It does tend to dissolve. You got to race the straw a little bit. So my thinking with the Mai Tai, I wanted to go tiki for our 9s because tiki cocktails have that reputation of like, when you think of tiki, you're on a beach, you're hanging out in the sunshine, you are taking it easy.
Yep.
And that's what people think about. And they tend to equate tiki drinks with just being totally crushable, super drinkable. But here's the thing about tiki drinks. They've got more alcohol per capita than basically any other cocktail out there.
Deep waters.
Some of them have 4 to 6 ounces of rum on top of other things. So this is a strong drink. Even though it's refreshing and delicious, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what you have going on with 9s as people. They are the peacemakers. They tend to get the stereotype of being just relaxed, whatever,
chill.
Go with the flow. But there's some heat under there, right?
Yeah, I love that you chose this drink because I would have never thought of it for the 9, but after having it and thinking about 9s.
Couldn't find my straw there for a second.
That's all right. It's exactly what a 9 is. They're deep, deep waters.
One thing that inspired the tiki element of this cocktail for me is we've lightly touched on our guy Richard Rohr, equating Enneagram types to countries.
Yeah.
And what I love that he talked about with the 9s is that you could equate nineness to any culture that was kind of like a traditional pre-Western culture. He kind of compared it to like Polynesian cultures, the cultures that were not influenced by the industrialization of the West and the need to sort of like control the world around you, more of a like let live sort of philosophy.
He also talks about that in regards to just human beings in general. So kind of the thought is 9s are at the top of the Enneagram because they relate most naturally to all the perspectives. That's why they're called the Peacemaker. And Rohr says in his book that he feels like all human beings, if they were just left to their own devices, would naturally be 9s. They would be at peace with the world, at peace with everything around them, and they would have a natural understanding and appreciation for their surroundings. They wouldn't feel a need to change it. They wouldn't feel a need to critique it. They would just let it be. And that's essentially what a 9 is at their core. That's their essence, is that ability to just let things be and to have everything be in harmony around them.
So let's talk a little bit about the 9's core desires and core struggles or fear.
Yeah.
What is that going to look like for them?
So their core desire is for harmony and peace. They want equilibrium around them. That is like what they're chasing after or avoiding in their life, is anything that shakes up that sense of harmony. So their core fear or core sin, if you will, is laziness, and that things around them will disrupt their harmony. And so I know nines hate that. Like all the nines I know that have heard about the Enneagram, one of their first reactions is, well, it says that I suffer from sloth or laziness, but I don't. I'm super proactive. And I think that's because laziness is a bad term for it. It's more like unfocused energy or unproductive action. Mm-hmm. You're doing a lot of stuff, but none of it means anything.
Yeah.
You're just numbing.
Mm-hmm.
So their core fear of having harmony disrupted means that if everything around me is chaotic, then I need to stop feeling all of this and stop acknowledging it and just kind of go into my shell.
Right.
So that's kind of their reaction to not getting the thing that they desire, which is harmony.
So it's kind of that tendency of like when things get a little bit choppy or things get a little bit too stressful, I'm going to go ahead and just take a nap.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and just hop online for a bit. I'm going to do some whatever that activity is that can be a little bit numbing.
In general, nines are a little low energy to begin with. Mm-hmm. They're not high energy. Yeah, like let's get the party going, pump up the jams. Like they're not like that. They can meet you there,
right?
Because they're super adaptable. But in general, they're kind of low-key people who just like a chill existence.
So let's talk about the positive side of this coin then. Cool. So if we've got this sort of low-key, probably avoidant on the more unhealthy end of the spectrum, what is that really fulfilled, healthy, fully living nine going to look like? And how can our nines build more of that into their lives?
Yeah, so when nines are healthy and they feel like the world is in harmony and in balance with the way it should be, they'll go to 3 in health or integration. And they take on that energetic, capable, self-assured sense of the achiever, and they can go out and accomplish great things. Mm-hmm. They have a sense of internal peace, so their external world doesn't need to match that. They can be living in a chaotic environment, or I don't know, doing a huge commute to go to work, to get a degree late in life and accomplish a whole new career path, if they have that internal sense of, okay, I'm at peace with my trajectory in life. So that they can go to 3 and start, achieving great things, as opposed to hiding and isolating from the world around them.
So nines are another one of those impinged types. They sit right in the middle of their triad, in the middle of that gut triad.
Yep.
Bordered by 8s and 1s.
Yeah.
So let's talk about those wings.
Okay.
Those are 2 very intense types.
Yeah, they are.
So 9s, again, this is what kind of inspired this tiki leaning for me. Very kind of chill, relaxed, and ultimately extremely likable people by and large. But they've got heat on either side.
They do. And they're very restless people because of that place in the Enneagram. So they're in the gut triad, and all the gut types struggle with resisting reality. 8s meet it head on. 1s kind of internalize their resistance and judge it and see if it's right or not. Whereas 9s are resisting reality on such a deep level that they don't even know it's happening. Mm-hmm. And so all the gut types suffer from anger. And 9s would be almost the last people you would expect to be angry people, to suffer from rage. But it's not until they snap that you realize there's a deep pool of perception and resistance to what's been going on around them. Mm-hmm. And then you realize, holy shit, these people see more than they let on, which lets them be great counselors. And that chillness can actually be true acceptance, because they see everything and they feel everything that's going on around them. So when you have a 9 with an 8 wing, you're probably more likely to hear some of that anger or hear some of that perception come out, because they're more energetic, they're more sociable, they have that 8 energy, that 8 passion. They're called the referee because they assert that peacemaking. So that core gift of creating harmony manifests itself in a lot more of a palpable way, because that 8 wing is making them a little bit more bold in what they have to say.
Yeah.
I've worked with 9s a lot in collaborative spaces, and I'll find, like, if we're speaking to a group, I can say something maybe that's hard to hear, maybe a critique, And it's kind of met with like, wow, so serious and judgmental. But if the 9 says it, it's like, oh my gosh, so true. You're so sweet and just like perceptive.
I have a couple of close friends who are 9s, and my experience with them in a social environment is that if you are fortunate enough to be sitting right beside them, they are saying some really mean stuff, but they're saying it very quietly, and it's just for the people next to them. So you're getting to enjoy this like biting, sarcastic energy.
But they say it with a sweet
They say it with a smile, and nobody else is hearing. They're not ruffling any feathers around them.
They are masters of the gentle jab, that spicy critique. And you're like, oh, but you're just such a sweet person. I'm not going to take that.
The reaction is like, ow.
I'm feeling spicy today.
That hurt a little bit.
Just enough, you know? So it plays out great for them. And when they have the one wing, they're called the idealist. Or no, they're called the dreamer. Mm-hmm. So they are more interested in what is right and wrong in the world, but they are very cerebral. Mm-hmm. They have more of that desire to perceive that the one has, more of that kind of analytical objectiveness of the one, and less of the socialness, less of like, I'm going to get in the middle of the fray and try to break this fight up. 9s with a one wing, one of my best friends is a 9 with the one wing, and he just didn't get a lot of attention no matter what he did growing up. Even I always feel like 9s are ones who didn't get attention for being angry, whereas ones, we found our way to get attention, which was being pissed off and aggressive. But 9s didn't even get attention for being aggressive.
Right.
It didn't behoove them to get boisterous. So they are so placid. 9s with the one wing, I think, are probably the most, they seem like they have equanimity. They just seem like they've found some sort of peace and acceptance with their situation.
Right.
And a lot of that comes from their perceptions that in the one wing and seeing like, well, this is the way that the world works, and I'm okay with how it is.
I always want to leave our viewers with the notion, especially for our 9s out there, if they're self-identifying as a 9, what are those proactive steps that they can take towards moving towards health? And because it might be so hard for 9s to do that work that needs to be done and to ruffle the peace within themselves, what's that going to look like for them?
Well, first of all, if you're self-identifying as a 9, good on you, because 6s and 9s have the hardest times identifying themselves. 6s will look like whoever their authority figure is, and 9s will just look like everybody. So 9s oftentimes will look like whatever their predominant community is. So if they're in a community of 3s, they may look a lot like 3s, or a community of 7s, they'll become more enthusiastic entertainer. So I think with 9s, it really, really behooves 9s to do some sort of self-assessment on a regular basis where you are journaling, you are observing your thoughts, and you're acknowledging your passions away from everyone else, and shut off any stimulus, because 9s always seek a stimulus. It could be a really fiery companion. It could be someone who's always just voicing these crazy aggressive thoughts and feelings, or someone who's always dragging them on another vacation, because 9s have a hard time getting themselves up or working their energy into a place to take action. So I think getting alone and turning off TV, turning off YouTube, turning off music, turn everything off and sit with those thoughts. They really, really need alone time. They really need to give themselves space, because one of their core narratives is that I'm taking up too much space and my life gets better the less of me that there is. So taking time to acknowledge and approve who they are, what they have to offer, be it their opinions, be it their sense of humor, their creativity. It's really hard for them to get approval for anything they've done if they don't feel like that's actually who they are. And 9s will become something other than who they are a lot of times, just because it makes everyone happy. And I'll do this if it makes everyone happy. So it's a real effort for 9s to figure out what makes them tick. Like, what do you want to do? So I would definitely advocate that 9s take a lot of time to build self-awareness. They're going to have the hardest time with it of all the Enneagram types. 9s have the hardest journey towards self-awareness. and self-acceptance, because they are just masters at adapting and becoming nothing, becoming whatever is acceptable and peaceful and nice.
I feel like that is such a great piece of advice for our nines, but if nines can see themselves in every type of the Enneagram, then every other number on the Enneagram would be wise to take some of that advice for themselves.
True.
So on this final episode of Discerning Spirits, I'm going to say, I think we can all take a little piece of that advice.
Yep.
Take a little bit of time to look inside of yourself, search your fears, search your desires, figure out who you are and what makes you tick. Feel free to turn off YouTube now that you've finished our series. And once you've done a little bit of the work, pour yourself a drink. If you're intimidated by the tiki, don't be. It's very simple. We're going to list the ingredients the way we always do. And if you're drinking along at home, then you've noticed that we completely forgot to set up our spirits display halfway through this episode. And if you noticed that prior to me mentioning it, congratulations. You drink along. So guys, thank you again so much for joining us. This has been Discerning Spirits. That's Colton Simmons.
That's Dan Prevette.
And we'll see you guys next time. Cheers.
Cheers.